Well, it's Saturday, stage 8, Tour de France 2022, episode 254 of the Between Two Wheels podcast. A lot of numbers coming at you today. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to talk about stage 8, Dole, as in Bob, to Lausanne, as in Switzerland. Okay, hope you're ready for this one. 100 and... get the exact number. Anyway, welcome people to Between Two Wheels podcast. We're doing, once again, every day, we're just going to try to put out a quick show as much as I can, okay? Do a quick show on the stage that just happened. And with that, to give you an idea of my little breakdowns. Look, am I the best person to do the analysis and the post-race breakdown? Probably. I've seen some other ones out there that are pretty god awful. One of them I watched yesterday for the first time, which was Lance Armstrong's The Move. Good God. He at one point he talked about the race in between advertisements. Unbelievable. There's so many products built up around him on his when you watch it on YouTube and built up around him, packing him up there. It's like watching an infomercial back in the day, late at night. You get all kinds of crazy ideas and products. That's where you go. He is completely lost it. As far I don't find anything useful that he says. And I miss the guy as far as I enjoyed. There was an article of Velo News talking about Greg LeMond. He's the one and only American to ever wear the yellow jersey. And then Cycling Weekly kind of picked up on the same theme, and they said pretty much the same thing. And I disagree. I'm sorry. Everyone was doping at the time. You go back down 10 places. So the fact that he got caught cheating, who wasn't? Okay. So him, now what's interesting is there's people that got caught. And then there are people that got caught. Floyd Landis got caught. Okay. I mean, he got caught at the time, but whatever. I don't necessarily dispel, partly because that's just the way life was back then. And so, yes, big cheaters, horrible people. There's no excuse for any of that, but, they're right. So anyway, him and then JB, JB knows about as much of cycling as the average person on the street. And that's him having studied for the last several years. And then there's George Hincapie, which is awesome. He knows his stuff. He's still in tune with the people. He remembers the races. So it's quality things there. But man, it was rough to watch. And then I'm watching GCN, which I love as well. Some of the, by the way, Robbie McEwen, I think is super solid. And I can remember everyone's names on there. Orna Shinaway, she's okay. All the announcers are good. Adam Blythe doesn't impress me. He said the other... He said the other day on the long wee, he's like, look, Wout is taking off this. He's escaping. He's doing this whole thing. And it's probably for the best because he never would have made it on this climb. He wouldn't have been able to contest. He's like, you look back, he's never had a hilltop finish where he's been able to do this. And, the other guy that's GCN there, he's Daniel Lloyd. He's like, didn't you just see stage 4 or so when he attacked and he went over the top of everybody on a climb, like as if the top was the finish? What do you mean he wouldn't be able to hang here? And then today, which was a more difficult climb than you had on that other stage to Longwy, and he obviously, spoiler alert, he gets the win. So once and now Wout has come out and he said the reasons why he did that attack. Everyone's saying, I don't understand it. And I don't think it's as nefarious he's not a dumb rider. He's not one of these riders that just doesn't have a plan. I think the team, and this is what he said, he goes, and I said this earlier, that the team is not interested in working for him. He's going to lose the jersey up to Planche de Belfi, stage 7. Why not go out in style? And he preferred a bigger group. You go up the road, maybe with 10, you have a chance of actually staying in the lead and getting the stage win. Or you sit back and then you have the team maybe work and maybe not pull the brake back. And if that doesn't happen, then you can maybe get the stage win or you get top 5 or something else there. So he's like, the team's not going to work. I'm just going to drill and so I didn't really have a problem with that. Matter of fact, they took pressure off of the team. They didn't take the jersey. They didn't have to do the work the next day. I don't have a problem with that. They did a little bit of work from today. Van Hooydonk, tall drink of water, ended up doing it. So why don't we look, the last time I did an episode here yesterday, stage 7, Planche de Belfi. By the way, I watched it multiple times. I absolutely just love the steep sections, that climb up to the finish. Great weather. You're seeing the riders just like unloading themselves in the last 1K. Poor Kamna getting overcome, and Roglic hanging in there. Jonas attacking, Pogacar coming up and then pipping him at the line. By the way, he did the thing. He did they call it the COVID high fives on the way down, and then his teammate ended up coming up with COVID, Stake Longen, something like that. So he's out of the tour. So, and also G. Thomas had said that the team had they had holes in them, which is UAE. I don't think there's any holes in UAE necessarily, except for they did lose one guy today. But Brandon McNulty, Rafa Micah, very strong for him. Rafa Micah, that's what I was thinking of. When he gave him the wave yesterday, he said, "Oh, I thought the finish was a little closer." These are all great things. Look at the videos. My point is, I put this up, and Facebook took my video down. Simply because they said this content may be owned by ASO. Fuck you guys. Sorry for the kids out there. There's definite law, and this is what I hate about Facebook. I hate it about YouTube. There's some other ones, by the way. If you look at my content, it's also on Odyssey. They have a different format, which is if there's a copyright strike, that other person, they can put it in there, and then they've got to prove that you have not overcome the fair use and all this stuff before they actually take the video down. Okay. Whereas YouTube, you just put someone says, "Oh, it may be," or they have their algorithm that they immediately pull it down. Then you've got to prove your innocence to it, which is a much more ridiculous standard. And by the way, I'm not a fan of copyright law and or any of that stuff. So we can talk about that if you really want to get into it. We'll talk about that stuff as well someday. Maybe that's for my other podcast. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's share the screen here and get to the video, which once again, we're just going to, I think we'll show this one first of all. Is this the one Pinot gets punched in the face? So this is the Lantern Rouge guy here. And hang on, let's go full screen. It's hard to really tell. Now, he had just fallen. He was just getting back up. And then he's going through the feed zone, and boom, he gets hit in the face by a bag. So it's hard to really see that one there, but Adam Blythe of GCN, I'll give him credit for him. He's one of the people that said, no, this is all Tibopino's fault. So why would this be Pino's fault when someone is trying to get a feed bag and they're reaching over, and the guy that's in the feed zone is reaching over and he's getting run into? Because the feed zones are always on the right. You know this. Thibaut's trying to move up in the feed zone, and he's going up there. This rider's just like, there it is. And so if you know these things and you're pro, you don't try to move up on the right-hand side of the road for exactly these problems. So Tibopino, bad luck. People are like, I don't want to necessarily give him the out. Sorry. He got hit in the face, and at the time I said, "Oh, it's probably not his fault." But actually, looking back through it and then seeing that, and then hearing Adam, I do believe it is Tibopino's fault for getting hit in the face. Poor guy. Okay, let's go to the video here. We've got big names. Is that the one? No. Oh, geez. What? Don't that one. Here, let's go. Okay. That's the one we want. Big names on the battle. This is the GCN breakdown. They give a little show of yesterday. Remember, Kamna was up in the break. Had a few guys. So today they get a break. They get Caneo, Fred Wright, he's American on the Bahrain Merida team. And what's this? This is a little recap of yesterday. Once again, going up the super steep area. Kamna, sorry, buddy, that was a tough break. So going in today, Pogacar leading by 35 seconds over Vinigo, G. Thomas, Yates, Gadu, Bardet, Pidcock, Paulus in the top 10 there, Enric Mas, and Martinez. And we talked about, check out the last episode for kind of the structure and what my points were about the teams and all that going into their, and Ineos specifically having 4 guys up there and what they can do for possible damage. Okay, they go Bob Dole to Lausanne. We'll talk about each one of those in a little bit later. We got some climbs going on here. What do we got? A sprint spot early on, then we got a 4, a 3, a 4, and a 3. But that last one is going to be with the finish and GC implications and a stage win. So you get these puncher guys and you get GC guys mixed in there. GC guys have to be at the front. You're going to end up losing all these sprinters because it's like a 5K climb. And then you're going to have the Michael Matthews, the Wout Poles, Alberto Bettiol's mixed in with GC guys, Mike Woods. Those ones, I actually put him on my fantasy team. I said, Mike Woods, let's do it. Today's your day. Little fucker from, once again, sorry, kids. I don't mean to be saying all this. Okay, so you get a group up the road. Frizon, he's a big guy. Fred Wright and Caneo for Quick Step. And you got a British guy, and they got a decent little break there, but teams decided to get on the front because they want to do some work. And so you had Van Hooydonk doing the work up there. You had UAE, a little bit of work. They were doing about 40% or so of the work. And Bike Exchange, they decided they're going to get into the mix. They're going to do what they need to pull this back from Michael Matthews. He said, hey, last time I went too late. I went too late on the sprint, and Pogue got me there in Longwy. So it'll be much different this time. The first sprint point, let's see if we got it here. I don't know who actually took it, but the 3 guys up front, and it looks like maybe Jakobsen. No, who's in? Wout's in this 3rd place, but I think Jakobsen may have actually nipped him at the line. There's some KOM stuff going on. Teams Poland, guys coming back. EF decides they're going to do some work there. And then you get the last 4 kilometers, and UAE, who Geraint Thomas has said they're lacking. They have holes. They're Swiss cheese holes in their team. And you had Rafa Michael up front, and then you had Brandon McNulty coming around and trying to take over. And then it was actually, Michael was just like, you know what, I kind of screwed up yesterday. I let him go too soon, and I'm just going to keep doing the work. He had some, it was interesting because there's like a 3-tier pitch. They caught Fred Wright, but it had sections of like 12%. And Bora was hitting the front, and I was confused as to why Boric, this is Conrad, was up there. So who is he leading out? Because Kamna wasn't going to be in there. Shackman went down early in the day. By the way, we give a quick update on some of the guys that had wrecked out here. Maybe we'll walk through that in a little bit. But Vermaca, DSM, our American first Tour de France, he ends up crashing early. I think even Pogacar went down, and that Pogacar actually made the statement that it was his softest wreck he's ever had. And but it wasn't that soft for DSM's Kevin Vermaca. He ends up having to quit for the day. So there's about 5 or 6 guys that are DNFs or DNS today. Once again, Langen stock stake or something like that for UAE did not even start. Rafa Michael continuing to do the onslaught of the work here for Pogacar. The guys were all lining up behind. You had Bike Exchange. You had Wout in the mix. And then here's the sprint. It's hard to tell, but exactly where the meters, how many meters to the finish here. But you can see that Michael Matthews decides this time he's not going to wait. He's going to end up hitting it out early and at least giving himself a chance, which is a great move. Actually, Wout gets a little boxed in here. Let's look at the sound. Wout gets a little bit boxed in here and then ends up kicking and killing it at the line. So once again, they're probably going to copyright strike me here just for even showing images, but it was an easy full bike length over Michael Matthews, who ends up getting second, and just enough, a little bit. Here's the overhead, being able to, you can see that, but Michael Matthews pipped Pogacar at the line. So Pogacar still gets a time bonus. So Wout gets the win time bonus, but Pogacar still ends up in the GC, moving up just a tad bit. What is it, 10, 6, and 4? So he ends up moving another 4 seconds ahead of Vinigo on the day. But Wout, solid move. Team looked good. I saw Sepp come across the line, give Wout a big hug, and said, I watched it. He goes, great job. I watched it on the TV. So he just came and just kind of sat on the end there. Wout, solid move, gets the win. Pogacar, Kron of Lotto, he was up there. Bettiol, Vlasov. So I guess Vlasov is who, again, you know, he had a good kick there at the Tour de Suisse. But that was a little different, mountaintop finish. So maybe that's who Conrad and Bora were working for. Just seemed a little odd because I didn't think that he would be the guy to be able to win. Okay, so they're up Switzerland. Here's tomorrow, 186.3 kilometers. This one's a little bit more climby, and we're going to get the actual profile here. You're going to get a 4, a sprint spot, a 2, a 1 up the Col de la Croix, and then the Passe des Morgans is where they're going to be finishing up to Les Portes du Soleil, Châtel. So there we go. Good stuff. Hopefully the copyright gods won't take us out too much for that. So let's take a look here at some of the results. This is the live stats that we had going into today. Some interesting things. Let's see if we go down further. They do a lot of interesting little tidbits. Michael Matthews now has 42 second places. Wout has 37 career wins. Jumbo Visma has 28 victories this season. Preliminary results. Finish for him. Gorstjartner has raced 25,001 kilometers in 152 stages and 8 Grand Tours, which equals 0.62 times around the world. Just some weird stats that Pro Cycling Stats ends up putting out there. I want to go way back to see if they list the guys that ended up crashing out and pulling out of the stage. Maybe they're not, it might be too much work there. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go up to the top, and we'll take a look at the results. We're going to see how everyone has done, Americans specifically. Wout van Aert gets the win. We've talked about this. Where's our top American here? Enric Mas, Michael Woods, who was the guy I was pulling for, and he kind of just sat up near the end there. He got 17, got a little surrounded. He was right up here with Vinigo, actually ahead of him, looking like a top 10, then just kind of sat up. So, whatever, dude. 7 seconds. Barguil ends up top 26. So anybody in the top 26, they end up holding time. Menkes, it looks like he probably just let a gap open with Rafa Micah, and then Rigoberto Urán had gone down. He was bandaged. So let's take a look here. United States, Paulus, McNulty, Cuss, all coming in within a minute. They're sitting up. Paulus is trying to keep his GC hopes alive, so he's sprinting there, making sure there's no gaps. McNulty, he did his work. Subcuss, he just makes sure that everything's out of the way, and he's fine. And then he does it. Matteo Jorgensen loses 121. Joe D loses 218. Quinn Simmons 922, and poor Kevin Vermaaka ends up not finishing the day and had to pull out. He didn't look so good. Okay, let's break it down by teams. You're not going to really see anybody losing. So Ben O'Connor, once again, the drop-off just continued. The only thing you're going to hope for him today or coming up is that he's going to be able to recover and do some Bob Jungles. He looks fine there, but that he can do some stage hunting. Alpecin, Philipsen lost. They're sprinter guys. Caneo was actually the only guy that can climb, and he ends up. There's Alpecin Ducoinic. Never mind. Matteo Van der Poel loses 7 minutes. He sat up coming in. He just doesn't look that good. Lutsenko ends up on the same time. Joe D loses some time. We talked about that. B&B hotels, they're not really, I'm not concerned. How about Damiano Caruso stays up there. Luis Leon Sanchez loses 13, and Fred Wright was up the mix there and then ended up losing 3 minutes. Vlasov gets the same time, 0, as the leaders, just loses out on some bonus seconds with the 6th place. Patrick Conrad had been doing the lead out. Max Schachmann had fallen down and skinned his face up, but he actually did some work there, and still he looked like he's fine. Let's look at Cam now. Loses 333, sits up. Good job. I'm going to keep it on my fantasy team for when he needs to come in and get me a stage win. Guillaume Martin, way to hold on to the top there. He's been doing solid. So see where Martin is on GC. He is 302. That's the cobbles and the time trial stage there, and a little bit a few things here and there as we go on. EF, Bettiol, Nilsson Palace, Rigoberto Urán, kind of the loser on the day, losing the 11 seconds. Him and Ben O'Connor, but Ben O'Connor, we're seeing him distance himself. We're going to stop calling him a GC contender at this point. David Gaudu stays up front. I know he looked like he was hanging on the back there for a while. Ineos, 4 guys in the top. This is the important part for them. Not one of the top 4, not losing any time. Pidcock, Thomas, Yates, and Martinez. They've got to keep that 4-headed fork going. Louis Menkes loses a little bit of time. I think he rode across this time instead of pushing his bike, running like he did yesterday. Mike Woods, 0-0, so he's up there in the top. But Chris Froome loses 218. Yesterday I ended up watching the Planche de Belfi stage up, the first one they did, 2012. It was an amazing, because that thing was all over the place. Fabian Cancellara had been in yellow, and they drop him early, and he ends up doing better than some of his own teammates on the climb. Chris Horner's out there pulling for people, and then Chris Froome gets over. He does a big long pull on the front. You had Michael Rogers, and then you had Chris Froome doing. Port was pulling, and then Chris Froome takes over, and he's pulling, and then they come up to the end, and some other guys are kind of attacking. I think Cadel Evans, and then Froome just reattacks. You don't normally see that. You see the guy pulling, you see then the team leader, and then, I mean, should have known, Chris Froome, he then reattacks, and after he did a big ass pull and gets first place, and to I think Cadel Evans was second, Brad Wiggins was third. All right, let's keep going on these. Almost done here. Jumbo, Wout, Vinigo, Roglic, and Tish Benut, all up there in the top 4 guys. Once again, not losing any time. That's solid for them. Lotto Sudal, only Andres Kron, 4th place is good for him. He's a little guy that can climb and sprint. Movie star Enric Mas, Matteo Jorgensen with 121. So keeps going for him. How are they doing on GC? Enric Mas is obviously up there. Matteo, top 48. I could see him being in that top 50 when everything's said and done. Quick Step, nobody made the front group. Arkea Samsic, Nairo kept the front with Warren Baigi. Team Bike Exchange, they were really hoping for the win, because they have no chance for a GC guy. So you've got Michael Matthews, once again, he gets a second bonus, gets 2nd place, but just a kind of a disappointment. What are you going to say, though, when Wout ends up getting the win? Team DSM, Roman Bardet holds on tight. Kevin Vermaaka has to bow out. Total Energies. One guy in the top there, Sagan, used to be his kind of stage. He's not. He's lost it at 707. He did some wheelies yesterday at the finish. Tom Squeens is the top for Trek. Tony Gallopin, Baka Malamar, who you'd think might be this kind of a stage, but he did not get in the break. And then Team UAE get 3rd place with Pogacar. Rafael Maika, it doesn't really matter for the rest of them, but they have that. They're solid work guys. Vigard Stake Langen ends up getting COVID, DNS, did not start. But so they've got Mikael Berg, kind of the one, and Mark Hershey was the replacement from Trentin, and so he's been having a tough time. I mean, how is he doing on GC? He is an hour 13 behind. Remember him a few years ago, winning stages, romping his way through, as he was wont to do. The other thing the guys were talking about you had Jonas being able to drop just for a moment Roglic or Pogacar yesterday, and then I kept hearing that this is the only time that Jonas is the only one that's ever dropped him, that's ever dropped Pogacar in the Tour de France. I'm like, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember the staging, but I rewatched it yesterday. It was that super steep one. Lopez and Sepp Kuss head out, okay, and Pogacar and Roglic don't follow. Then Roglic does follow him. This is the 2021 that Pogacar ends up winning. Then Roglic heads out, gets up with Sepp Kuss. They still keep going, and Roglic drops him again, and Pogacar never catches him at the finish. So you got Lopez, Sepp Kuss, and Roglic all dropping him on that stage. Never dropping him, people. I don't know. Here's tomorrow's stage. We've got, I don't know how to say this, to Châtel Les Portes du Soleil. We've talked about this one here before, around 190 and 93 kilometers or so. Some pitchiness, and then a substantial rest day, which we will have. So I'm going to pull one other thing up here. We are going to look at, let's go to Steep Hill. They do. I missed this. Okay, so here's the one today, Dole. Let's take a look at Dole for Wikipedia. Nothing really about Dole, so I don't know what that part is, but Lausanne, we could take a look at them as far as the city. Learn some things. Did they throw women off of did they throw women off of a mountain there? Maybe they should have. It's the capital and largest city in the Swiss canton of Vaud. It is a hilly city situated on the shores of Lake Geneva, about halfway between the Jura Mountains, which we just went over with Planche de Belfi, and the Alps, and facing the French town of Yvon-les-Bains. Across the lake, Lausanne is located 62 kilometers, 38.5 miles east of Geneva. It's the largest municipality of Lausanne, has a population of 140,000, making it the fourth largest city in Switzerland. Do we care about that? Initially a Celtic and Roman settlement on the shores of the lake, Lausanne became a town at the foot of the Notre Dame, a cathedral built in the 12th century. In the 20th century, Lausanne became focus of international sport, hosting the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, Court of Arbitration of Sport, and some 55 international sports association. It lies in a noted wine region. Okay, so that's great and all. There was one other thing. Let's just come with me here. Cycling Weekly. I was going to look because they had a list of all the fines, and I thought that would maybe be an interesting part to take a look at. There was also one other thing, speaking of Lance Armstrong and his horrible podcast. Yes, I said it. I know. He gets much more views. I could still punch up like that because it's horrible to watch. So here's one of here's one of the other articles: the lone Americans who have worn the yellow jersey and the 4 who were stripped of their achievements. Okay, that's true. That's a little actually better. Here's the writers and staff. There was also a thing where Lance Armstrong, Brian Zimney brought this to my attention. Well, he mentioned it yesterday, but I already read it, about where ASO has been credited in Lance Armstrong's videos, and they've been showing little clips, kind of like I have, except I think they're actually rolling it through. I'm trying to skip through. And so he was saying in association with them or in conjunction with them of some sort. So it made it look like they had some sort of connection, like working deal. And, he's barred from participating, promoting anything like that in the sport, at least the Tour de France. So that was a little nebulous. And then so someone reached out to them for comments on that. He then took that part down. Some of the videos came down, I guess, or they re-edited them. So who knows what's going on there. But let's go through here about people that have been fined. If you don't know how the fines work, we'll read that any breaches that are spotted can be punished by the race commissaires, who can dish out fines to respective riders and teams, in most severe cases, even disqualify riders. So today I'm watching and I see Tibopino, who we saw the first part here, get hit in the face. He had wrecked. He's getting back in. He gets behind a team car and the team car starts pulling him away. And, that can be bad. They do fine riders for that. And immediately the cameras went off of him. I'm like, oh, it's French cameras. If it's anybody else, you see the cameras just stay on. They're going to show this as long as possible, and then the riders are going to get a fine. But they did not want their Tibopino penalized. So Tour de France from stage 1, none. Stage 2, littering, a lot of littering ones in the appropriate zone, 500 Swiss francs. Some UCI points maybe. Stage 3, once again, littering. Dock 25 points from the UCI rankings. That's not a good thing. Littering. Right, and then this is the Quinn Simmons, riding in paths, sidewalks, and bike lanes, fined 500 Swiss francs, docked 25 points in the UCI rankings, deducted 20 and 40 points in the class for the mountain and class classification. Stage 4, littering, a lot of those littering. Irregular refueling, that's taking a bottle or a feed at the wrong time. Not respecting instructions of the commissaries was Franz Maassen. That might be urinating in public. So I saw a bunch of these urinating in public ones, and I'm not sure urinating in public. Nairo, Garant, not respecting the Okay, irregular fueling, littering, urinating in public. Stuyven. So one thing I was wondering about with the urinating in public is all of the urinating is in public. You're going to urinate. Why are there? I don't know. Maybe they're designated certain times and places that they say you can actually urinate, which is stupid. Because when you're on the bike, if you have to go, you have to go, and you're going to take a break. You're going to take a penalty if you need to. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a policy or a place you're supposed to be doing this or not. And if so, that just to me seems like a bad idea. So, I mean, you should be able to go and on your bike. every urinating is in public. So I don't know if you're just pulling on the side of the road and you're just like, not everyone does a Dumoulin. Not everyone pulls into some cafe. I've heard of people doing that. If you really got to go, but that's not urinating. That's oh no. If you ever watched the video of the Eurosport guy talking about Dumoulin on the side of the road. Episode 254, stage 8. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow should be a little bit more fireworks. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are. So we'll do that, and then we'll take a rest day Monday. Maybe I'll try to have someone on, and we'll do some breaking it down. Once again, I'm your humble guy. I think we have the best analysis here, bar none. We don't hawk any products. Take care, everybody.